Welcome back. This week we're starting with a crop tour. The last 2 weeks for me has been kind of a bit mental, and I really feel like I haven't had a lot of time to actually spend farming. So I have no idea what's going on, and the point of going and looking at a couple of fields this morning is to check up on everything and make a plan for the next 2 or 3 weeks. So the first field we've come to is our 4th cut silage ground. As you can see, it's a really nice crop of grass. And we don't have any obvious yellowing or purpling of the tips, which is what I was really worried about, because none of these fields got any slurry, they just got nitrogen. But we have fairly good soil indexes, and we put on plenty of potassium at the start of the year, so it looks like we're going to get away with it. The plan will be to cut this around middle to late September, so it'll be a really good crop by the time we get to then. Next thing we're going to go check up on is a field which I overseeded. That's really noisy. Every time I plough a field, people tell me I should just stitch in grass seed. So I'm trying it out. I have no idea what that machine's called, but I am shocked that it's left the ground that you wouldn't even notice it's been on it. It's opening up little tiny slits and putting the grass seed in and then closing them up again. That is crazy. I can't believe how subtle it is. You couldn't even tell where it's been. I'm really not a fan of overseeding. I've actually never done it before. Normally, I do prefer to just plough any field I'm going to reseed. But I decided I would give it a go. And I haven't looked at it since it was done 3 weeks ago now. So this is one of our Italian ryegrass fields, and it was cut in the first part of our 3rd cut silage. It also got less nitrogen than the other fields because I had planned to go back on with some extra diammonium phosphate, but that never happened. So we need to make sure that that hasn't caused an issue, as well as checking to see if the grass seed has done anything. These two fields are fairly similar in age, both been reseeded like 4 years ago, both the same grass seeds, but we only overseeded this field. Plan being that I'll be able to see the difference next spring. It's a really patchy open sward, which is why I thought the overseeding might actually work on this field. And you can see the lines of the seeder if you look really closely. So how do we tell if it worked? But if you look here, you can see the slit that the seeder made. Another slit here is really obvious. And you can see we do have some new plants growing out of that slit. And it's exactly the same story just up here. We have our slit and we have some new plants peeking through. Another really nice example right here. We have our slit, we have our young grass coming through. I'm actually very pleased with that. I didn't really know what to expect. I actually think that's worked pretty well, to be honest. This is a very open field in parts. It's just Italian ryegrass that got badly compacted the year after it went in. Never really recovered. Was meant to be reseeded last year and it was never done. So I'm hoping that the stitching will make it into a good field again. But we'll really not know that until the start of next year. But at least we will know now that the grass seed has germinated and we have some extra plants. And that's what I wanted. I'm going to have to make a TikTok about this because that's really impressive. Next up, we're going to go check on our drained and reseeded field that we done earlier in the year. See if it's ready for cutting for bales, or if we could maybe stretch it out to cut it with the silage in 3 weeks. And then we're also going to go check on a 10-acre field, which I plan to spray off and get reseeded next week. But apparently there's a lot of grass on it. So we'll have to make our decision when we see it. Welcome to the last stop on our crop tour. It's the field we reseeded earlier in the year and put about 40,000 pounds of drains into. And there is loads of grass. I think I'm going to have to try and get this baled, possibly on Monday. I'm not going to be able to leave that for another 3 or 4 weeks. Okay, that's good to know. That's why we check things, to make a plan. I'm going to bale that on Monday. Now, the next thing we have to check is whether I should get this field sprayed off and ploughed next week. So there is some cattle grazing this block, but clearly they're not doing a very good job since there is a lot of grass on it. I mean, there's a bit of grass on it, but it's not like it'd be worth cutting and baling. I'm not sure what to do. So it does give some rain next week, which I kind of need because everything is very, very dry at the minute. And it'd be really nice to have this field ready to go so that after that rain, if we get another couple of days of good weather, we can get it fully reseeded and done and out of the way before silage. So that's kind of my consideration as to why I want to spray this field off today. Because if I leave it, it might rain for a couple of days next week, and before you know it, it's the start of September, I'm just getting this sprayed off. Oh, I dropped my phone. And then the reseeding is on top of silage, which is not good. Why not to spray the field off? Because there's grass on it. But I don't need any extra grass this year. The challenge is actually just managing how much grass I have. So I think I spray it off and then we top it before I plough it. And then that grass can act as like a natural fertilizer. I think that makes the most sense. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. Yeah, decision's made. We're spraying that field off. Let's go back to the farm. I have new tyres on the 6465 that I want to show you. And I also have an update for the autosteer to hopefully improve the accuracy when we're spraying that field. Because we did leave a few lines in the reseeded field that we sprayed. There's one line right there, there's one line right there, and there's one line right there. I'll explain why that happened and how I fixed it later on this afternoon when we're spraying. So these are the new tyres I got fitted to the 6465. And they're not what I originally expected I would be fitting. So the story behind how I ended up with these is that Alliance wanted to work with me on some videos and for me to attend the ploughing championship. And it fits my rules around what companies I'm willing to work for, as I actually paid a premium for Alliance tyres on my slurry tanker. So then I just had to choose a tyre. And as you all know, I am a big fan of low pressure, high flex tyres. Hence why every other tractor I have runs on VF and at 15 PSI. This tractor originally was on a set of Bridgestones. This tractor was originally on a set of standard Bridgestone tyres. And for anyone who's been watching a long time, you know I complained about them constantly. So when Alliance offered to replace the tyres on my tractor and they done a really good VF range, I obviously said yes. Hence why I ended up with these. Now, what I didn't expect when I agreed to get the tyres replaced was that they ended up so much bigger than the Bridgestone tyres that came off the tractor. And I really don't understand how. There used to be a huge gap between the front tyre and the mudguard. And the rear tyres in this tractor used to look ridiculous because of how far away they were from the mud guards. Anyway, the point is, the tyres now look like they actually suit the tractor. Next up, let's chat about the weird tread pattern before we get to the high flex stuff. The Alliance AgriFlex tyres use a split tread versus your traditional straight tread. And when I first found these, I had in my head that these were designed for road use, but the Alliance documentation said they were designed and best for field use, which really confused me. So I asked ChatGPT. I actually gave ChatGPT a photo of both of these tyres and asked it to explain to me the lug design. And it was the total opposite of what I expected. These tyres are actually better for sticky, muddy conditions and providing traction in difficult conditions in the field. The gaps in the lugs are especially good for cleaning your tyres out in really muddy conditions. And that really matters when you're ploughing here in Northern Ireland. So now let's get to the final key point about these tyres and why I chose them. They are high flex and they can be run at low pressure. VF, if you ever want to buy tyres like this. They're also called AgriFlex, which again, kind of gives it away. Let's check what pressure I'm running my Puma at. It should be 15 PSI, but I don't check this very often. It's not 15 PSI. Have I been running these too hard? For like a year and a half. The front tyre was 20 PSI. Let's see what the back tyre is. You are joking me. 30 PSI. Let's go check the 8S in case my gauge is faulty. Is my gauge actually broken? There's no way that's at 25 PSI. Okay, so my gauge is actually broken. You can see it's sitting at like 6 PSI. when it should be at 0, which would make sense because if we take the 6 psi off, they're running at 15. Man, this gauge sucks. I know how we can test how far it is off though. These tires were inflated to 25 psi. The person who fitted them told me that. We should read a pressure of 30-ish psi so that we know this is actually off. Yep, 30 psi. I'm not going to deflate them because it takes forever trying to use a gauge to deflate a tire. So instead I'm going to buy myself a new gauge and one of the little screwdrivers to take the plugs out, and I will set all these tires properly when I get the tools to do it. And I'll also check the tires on them tractors to make sure they're actually set to 15 psi. Although I am 99% sure they are, unless someone has snuck onto the farm and inflated them on me. So that's my new tires. They are Alliance AgriFlex 373. And I decided to go with them because they are VF, so I can run them at a low pressure without the sidewalls cracking. And the lug design is meant for sticky, wet soil conditions, which is exactly what this tractor is mainly used for. Slurry, carting silage, trying to get up wet, sticky hills, and mainly ploughing, when I actually need the grip more than anything else. So that's the tyre update. Now what's happening the rest of today? Well, I got myself a drum of ovation. So we're going to go spray that field off this afternoon. I've already got the autosteer fitted back into the tractor with some new code, so we're going to test that out and see how well it works. And then at the start of December, we're going to put these tyres to the test. We're going to go and plough some ground. Right, I'm going to go get the sprayer hooked on and then go for my lunch. I'll see you later on in the field. Whilst that's filling, let's go get a camera mount and I will explain the changes to the code we made for the autosteer. It's quite complicated, but I'll try and keep it as simple as possible. The last time we went spraying with the autosteer, the issue we had was that we had a consistent error. And the error wasn't that big, it was only like maybe 20-30 centimeters. But because we were going up the field and then down the field, that error was doubled. So we ended up with stripes like 50 centimeters wide, like you seen earlier in the video. I got my JCB resprayed also. It made a great job of it. If you want the guy's details, look at my TikTok or Facebook. Or send me a message or ask in the comments or something. So the point is, we had a consistent error. And the reason we had that consistent error is because steering wheels on tractors move. So what the 0 position was when you started a job isn't the 0 position when you finish a job. And we were not correcting for that drift in the tractor's steering position. So what was happening is that the distance that we were sitting perpendicular to the line happened to be the steering angle correction, which meant the tractor was driving straight. That might not make sense to you, but that's what was the problem. Basically, we need a way to correct for the steering drift of the hydraulics in the tractor. So what I've done is I've written some new code. My English isn't great, which finds the error off the line, our cross-track error. And if the error is stable, so it is not decreasing or increasing, we then nudge a variable, which is our offset, slightly left or right. And we do it in little increments so that we don't end up overshooting the line. Is that code going to work? I have no idea. But we can go and find out together. And because we have 2 loads of spray to do today, if we do have any issues or find any problems, we get a second chance to fix the code and go test it for the second load. Hopefully that makes sense. It's really quite a small change to the code, but hopefully it'll fix that issue that we had the last day, which meant that we left some stripes. And if it doesn't fix the error, it is going to be extremely noticeable because I'm applying Roundup. So there'll be really visible green stripes of grass if my autosteer makes any mistakes today. It's a pretty good way to test it. Let me show you even clearer what I mean about the error that we got the last time we were spraying with the autosteer. It's much clearer from the bottom of the hill. So here we have a consistent line which is probably 40 centimeters wide. Coming back down the field we then had an overlap, and then going back up the field we had an error of 40 centimeters again. So that was caused because we were about 20 centimeters off our guidance line and the tractor was commanding an angle to steer towards that line, but the steering wheel was drifting when we were turning at the headlands. So the autosteer was demanding an angle of say 60 degrees of steering, but it turned out that 60 degrees of steering was actually straight. Hence why the lines are straight and a consistent distance off. I think that should make sense. It certainly makes sense to me, but it's hard to get across on video, especially when none of you are writing the code to make all this work. Let's get some gates opened up, get my poverty spec booms folded down and let's see if it works. Ah, this gate's not gonna stay round. I need a stick. Where am I gonna get a stick? Ah, flip's sake. I need to hurry up as well. It's taking me like all day. Okay, that might hold. Right, I'm gonna record an AB line, do my headlines, and then we'll see how the autosteer performs this time. This is a lovely straight field, so if it's ever gonna work really well, this should be a really nice test. I just don't think it's gonna work. I don't know what the problem's gonna be, but I don't know. I'm doubting myself. I am doubting myself. So we have our AB lines. Good. First success. I didn't break that in the code. Now let's go back around to the start, finish our headland, and then hopefully follow our guidance line. We need to be within about 10 centimeters to not leave any streaks. Because I was tempted to reduce the working width to like 9.5 meters and give myself that buffer zone. But I don't want to do that. I want to just sort of go for it and hope for the best. We're sticking to 10 meters, and then if we do have any errors, at least then we'll know. At least we'll know there was a problem to fix. There is a lot of grass on this, to be fair. I don't think I've ever sprayed off so much grass. Some of you might think I'm mad, but like I explained earlier, if I don't do this now, it's going to be at least 2 weeks before I can get it ploughed. And by that point, silage will nearly be on top of us. Okay, so this is the guidance line we're coming on to. We have 71 degrees of steering, even though the wheels are as straight as I can visually see them. So we do have an error to correct for. But there's only one way to find out if this is going to work. So let's just try it. Autosteer is on. It is engaged. Let's get up some speed. I have limited the steering angle to a max of 300 degrees, so we are off here. That's a software decision I made, which I probably shouldn't have. We're still a meter off, so it should correct. We're still way too far off. I need the offset to correct way quicker. It's miles off. So that did not go well. We have clearly made it much worse. I'm going to drive manually down the field and go alongside the line I went so that I can fix the bits I missed. Record a new AB line. I've also power cycled the steering wheel with the wheel straight. So we should not have 150 degrees of error to try and compensate for. It should be like 7 degrees of error. I think that's our problem, is that I'm changing the angle by 1 degree at a time, but we were 150 degrees off, I think. Let's see how this goes. Okay, here goes. And if you're wondering what the beeping is, it's the tractor, not the GPS. Oh no, I just lost my headphones. Oh flip, everything's going wrong. Right, we're manually steering, at least for the first seconds. Right, let's see what happens. I'm not confident. Speed up a wee bit. Engage auto steer. It's working. It's working. We're 9 centimeters off. Oh my goodness. We are literally bang on our line, like 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters. Oh, happy days. It's working. This never gets old. 6 centimeters off. We have a curve here. You can kind of see the kink. It's following the kink perfectly. Look at our accuracy. Look at our accuracy. Oh my days. How have I built auto steer? Okay, this is the curve. This is the curve. This is the curve that's challenging. We're about 20 centimeters off. We're correcting. We're correcting. It actually works! Oh my days, how have I done this? Wow. And, sorry about the beeping, the tractor's really not happy. I need to get that error sorted. It's the same one from silage time. 8 centimeters, 6 centimeters. Oh, this has worked so well. So happy this works. That's the field sprayed off. I ended up spraying off about 12 acres and we'll be back in here next week once it starts to go yellow with the topper to cut some of that longer grass down at the back. And then we're going to get quite a lot of slurry and manure put on this at the end of the week. And combined with a bit of rain to soften everything up, We should be ready to start ploughing this at the start of September. The goal will be to get this whole field reseeded over the course of about 3 days. Get it done, get it out of the way so that we can focus on getting our 4th cut silage in the middle of September. There is a lot of grass in this field, but it is just going to be sacrificed so that we can get it reseeded. And it is all weed grasses. Okay, well that's a piece of perennial ryegrass, but most of it is more perennial ryegrass. Wait a minute, most of it is weed grass. Just like the field on the other side of that hedge hadn't been reseeded since 1985, which is an astonishing 40 years. This field is the same. 40 years since it was ploughed. And I have a sneaking suspicion that underneath is going to be an amazing soil structure. But we'll all find out together in 2 weeks' time. We really won't know how good or bad these tyres are until we get them into the field in some tricky situations. But so far, I have no complaints. They don't seem to be noisy on the road. It's not any less comfortable than it normally is. That tractor has no suspension. And they definitely allow me to go a couple of kilometers an hour faster because they're that little bit taller than the tyres that were on it. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If you have any comments, stick them down below. Please do remember to like this video and subscribe if you haven't. And I'll catch up with you all next week, potentially for a midweek video. But don't hold me to that. Right, I better go milk. See you later.